Hey guys, it's Code Zealot, and I'm back today with a brand new video giving you guys another data pack download. Now, this is the standalone beta version of my Protections Datapack. This will eventually be a brand new module in my latest project called the Scaffolding Framework. If you don't know what that is, basically I've created a way for all of my data packs to be compatible with one another, so that way you can mix and match them all together without any conflicts. It's also a way for you guys to create your own data packs much easier. So instead of having to learn how to create something like right-click detection, you can go ahead, install my module in the Scaffolding Framework data pack, and then all you have to do is do some hooks to reach into my data pack module and then basically port it over to your own creation. So that way you don't have to set up right-click detection. You just have to do a couple of lines of code, and there you go. You have right-click detection set up in your own data pack. Now, that's enough about that project. Let's go ahead and see this one in action, the Protections data pack, and let's see some of its features. So if I go ahead and take a look at this, whatever you want to call it, the ugliest grass house in Minecraft, we're going to go ahead and use this as our demonstration for our purposes here. So right now you can see that I'm in survival mode, and even though I am lagging quite a bit right now, I am able to break blocks just like normal, and I'm able to place blocks, and I'm able to, destroy grass, all of that, because I'm in survival mode. Now, what we're going to do is we're basically going to force all the players to go into adventure mode whenever they are inside of our area that we want to protect. So since we want to protect this area where this little grass house is, let's go ahead and go to the center of the area that we want to protect, because this will be a protection radius, which basically means we're protecting a circle. And so let's go ahead now and run the command we need to set up our first protection. If we go ahead and type out function and then the namespace, which is CZ zones, we can then use the first function, add zone. And you'll notice that we now have a name tag displayed showing us where our zone is. So if I go ahead and try and break anything now, you can see I'm no longer able to break any blocks in this radius. I'm not able to break any grass. And if I have some blocks, I'm not even able to place blocks. Now, if I go a little bit farther away from the house, you can see that I'm able now to use survival mode and break blocks, place them, and just play normal Minecraft without any problems. However, if I return back to this area, you'll notice that eventually I will no longer be able to do those things. And that's because we are now in the radius of our protection zone. So if you're wondering, well, how big is the protection zone? There are various sizes that I have hard-coded in here, and in the future, I'm hoping to make all of this dynamic as well. But for now, there are a couple of set sizes that you can apply to your protections. Now, before we go ahead and change the size of this, I want to show you how you can visualize where your protection is by giving yourself a tag. And I don't have a function for this just yet. I'm going to write that. Like I said, this is just like a beta version. But right now, at the time of this video, all you have to do is do tag, and then the target that you want to use, I'm using @s, and we're going to add a tag called CZ show zones. And if we go ahead and give ourselves that tag, you'll notice something very interesting. All around me are barrier blocks that are appearing, and these aren't actually barrier blocks, they're just particles, and so they're not really blocking the player from moving through here, but they're illustrating where the protection zone is, and you can see that we get a notification about the size of the zone when we enter it. So as we enter, we're told that there is a radius of 10 blocks being protected, and when we leave, we're told that there's a radius of 10 blocks protected. Now, there's also another way to test whether or not you are inside of a protection zone. Say you don't have this enabled and you're not looking at the zones with these particles, you can go ahead and run another function by doing function cz-zones. And then what we want to do is we want to test if we're inside of a zone. So if we use this function called check in zone, we'll get a message saying we are outside of a CZ zone, and that means that we're in survival mode. And if we go inside of the zone and then run the same function, we'll see that we are inside of the zone. And so if you don't have the tag that displays these particles, then you can use that to test whether or not you are inside of the protection zone. Now, that becomes much more useful when you increase the radius size. So right now we're at radius size 10, and let's go ahead and increase it. So if we stand next to our protection here, if we go in and type in function cz-zones, now we have another directory we can go in called zone settings, and we're going to set the distance from 10 to 100. All we need to do is be within, I think it's a 2-block radius of our name tag here, CZ zone, and press enter. And we can see the zone distance is now 100 blocks instead of 10. And all of those particles that we had just a second ago have disappeared. And that's because they've all shifted. They're all farther away from us now. If we're standing here, obviously, there are 100 blocks away from us in all directions. So let's go ahead and try and break some things. We can see that the radius is much larger. We can no longer use survival mode over here, which we were able to do just a minute ago. And if we go ahead and go into creative mode, we still have the tag that will display the radius, the border, for our protection. And so as we continue to fly out, we will eventually hit our zone limit. And so here we are. Here is the limit that we're at. So we can see that the barriers are going around in a circle of our protection. And obviously, the larger the protection is, the longer it takes for the particles to get around. And I have, added more particles for the larger protections, but at the end of the day, you can only do so much to make them circle around perfectly. So there is basically this animation that will make its way around. And if you somehow miss the animation, you can see the zone limit is currently displayed on screen. And you can also use the function we've already seen, check in zone. So right there, we're outside the zone. And if we go on the inside of those barriers and we use the same function, we are now told that we are inside of the zone. So that's how you can change the size of your area and how you can test whether or not you are inside of the area. But let's see some of the other features that we have currently at the time of this video. So if we go back over here, we may not want this name tag to be displayed because this is annoying. So what we can do is we can go ahead and stand next to our zone and type out function CZ zones. And then if we look through these functions, we can go ahead and find hide zone name. If we run this function, you'll notice that the zone name is now no longer visible. However, the zone is still here. So if I go back to game mode survival and try and break things, you can see that we are not able to break anything. We are still in the protection zone and everything is working. It's just invisible now. And we still have that particle display. So if we change it back to 10 blocks, so we can just, go like this and change it back, set distance to 10. And now we can see we're back to our 10 blocks and the zone is still here. It's just invisible, but we're still seeing these particles. And if we want to stop seeing those, we can just do the reverse of what we did earlier. So if we give ourselves this tag, we can see those. And if we remove this tag, then we will no longer see those particles. So that's pretty much it for this video. This is like the beta version. It's all under development still, but I wanted to go ahead and give it to you guys so you can begin using it and trying it out and letting me know what kind of features you would like to see added into this data pack in the future, and especially as it's added into that new scaffolding framework project. If you notice when you type out function, you'll see that there's all kinds of other things I'm working on that aren't really complete yet, like turning off PvP when you're inside of a certain protection zone, disabling vanilla mobs from spawning inside of these zones, and all kinds of other things, if you scroll through, you can see. Now, one last thing I do want to showcase here before I end this video is that you can have as many zones as you want without conflict. So right now we have our zone here with the 10 block protection, so we cannot break anything. But if we just go ahead and go to the end of that protection zone, which is right over here, we can use the function we did earlier, which is function CZ-zones, add zone, and we now have another zone right here. So we're currently in a zone. This is all protected. And if we go over here, we're basically entering into the other zone, and this is all still protected. And so what used to be a 10 block protection is now a 20 block, it's more than that, but basically 2 protections that are worth 10 blocks instead of just 1, and they can overlap. There's no conflict there. Now, if we go over here and we want to remove a zone, we can go ahead and type out function CZ-zones. And then if we scroll through here, we will see we have an option to remove all zones and an option to remove a single zone. If we use the remove zone function here, it will remove a zone that is, I think, within 2 blocks radius. So if we want to go ahead and take a few steps back and try and remove this zone, if we do function CZ-zones, remove zone, we can see that the zone is still there. It hasn't been removed, but if we go a little closer and then run it, it will remove that protection and we are able to use survival mode. But note, we only removed 1 protection zone. So if we go back over to this one, you can see that the zone is still active. We're still protecting this area. And so let's go ahead now and remove that zone, but this time we're going to use the remove all function. So if we change this now from remove zone to remove all zones, we can use this from anywhere in the map. We don't have to be within a radius of the zones because it's going to remove every single zone on the map. And if we run that function, we can now see that this is no longer protected. We are able to break all of these blocks. So guys, that's it for this video. If you like this data pack, please leave a like on this video and share it with your friends. And also leave me a comment down below letting me know what kind of features you would like to see in the future of this data pack when it's merged into my latest project, the Scaffolding Framework. Thanks guys, I'm CodeZealot, and I'll see you all in the next video.